You know what's pretty funny? I actually forgot to record this episode last weekend. Okay, it's not really funny. It's more ironic than funny, but still, I got a good chuckle out of it. Today we're going to be covering the first episode of The Nightmare Room. The very first one. First one written, first one acted in, and, well, I have some high hopes for it after watching Scareful What You Wish For. So let's cut the bullshit and let's just get straight into watching tonight's video. Don't forget me.
Our episode opens up with the Warner family moving into a brand new house in a brand new neighborhood.
Stop me if you've heard this one before.
We're introduced to the key members of the family, most notably Danielle, played by Amanda Bynes.
Yeah, I know. Amanda Show. This chick is from The Amanda Show. I get it. Cool. Never watched it. Probably not going to.
Thankfully, the Warner family has only moved a short distance from their original home, so the kids can still attend the same school, and Amanda can keep up with her boyfriend, Chris, played by J. Evan Bonifant. While everything is being settled into the strange house, a strange man stares down the house from across the street. Amanda gives Chris the tour of the house, and that's when they head down to the basement, where Amanda is jump-scared by her brother Peter, played by Daniel Hansen.
He voices Lewis in the smash hit film Meet the Robinsons.
Danielle rushes out of the basement into a little bitch fit with Peter and Chris close behind. But strange whispers seem to grow in the darkness out of these strange, growing, glowing cracks. The next day, Danielle runs out of her house to find that her parents are getting ready to leave. Apparently, they're leaving on a business trip but have forgotten to tell their children goodbye.
Lock the doors, no boys after dark, and we'll miss you.
So the parents are out of the picture as they head out for a few days, leaving Danielle and Peter to fend for themselves. Chris swings by the house to meet up with Danielle to work on a science project together. Their project is, of course, hypnosis, and their first test subject is good old Peter.
Okay, well, the first thing it says you need to do is relax.
What? This is how I relax.
Jesus Christ, this episode has not had good acting so far.
Peter doesn't take any of this too seriously, but Danielle manages to get the little brat to calm down and actually follow the hypnosis ritual.
You're getting sleepy. Very sleepy.
Of course, they use a fucking coin. How cliche can you get? Peter falls into a trance, and Danielle falls into a panic as she can't seem to get her brother to wake up.
Chris, something's wrong. He's totally ticklish.
Peter, come on, man, wake up.
Peter, wake up.
Of course, this is a red herring for what's going to happen later in the episode, and it kind of makes a lot of this part of the episode almost completely pointless to the plot. Because we already know there's something supernatural going on. We don't need this attempt at a red herring with the forgetfulness hypnosis is... Why was this in the book or something? Was that why this is here? It's not needed.
It's my fault.
Your fault? How do you figure that?
I'm the one who hypnotized him.
Also, I don't give a fucking shit how much you forget. You don't just forget that you're ticklish. You'll instantly get reminded that if somebody tickles you. So I don't know how Peter pulled that off since he was faking this whole memory loss thing at the beginning.
Once Peter reveals his charade to Danny, she tries something, I guess, and ends up knocking over a pitcher.
Oh man, you're gonna be so grounded.
Danielle decides to take the pitcher and throw it away before her parents find out, but that's when she comes face to face with the homeless man from earlier. She rushes inside to get away from the man and locks all the doors. But the only problem is, she can't seem to find Peter anywhere. After searching the entire house, she finds him hiding away in the basement with the lights turned off.
What are you doing down here?
I don't know.
She escorts Peter to bed and I guess forgets about the weird homeless man outside and settles in for the night herself. But later that night, strange liquid drops from the ceiling and starts pouring all over her.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it that because there are definitely no other things I can reference that to.
This is an actually cool scene as the stuff slowly drips from the ceiling and ends up covering her. She wakes up frantically and tries to wipe the shit off of her, but it suddenly disappears, and Danielle comes to the conclusion that it was all a dream. She wanders into the hallways to check on Peter when a painting falls off the wall for some reason.
Okay, I don't know what the point of that was, but, ooh, spooky.
She then sees Peter walking down the hallways in a slow, creeping manner, who seems to have the desire to check out the basement.
I was going to the basement
The basement? What for?
because I have to.
The next morning, Danielle calls her friend Chris to swing by the house. It seems like Peter is slowly starting to forget things as he tries to play one of his favorite video games, saying that he had forgotten the controls. Later that day, Danielle heads to the school to pick up her brother, but she can't seem to find him anywhere. When she talks to the receptionist at the school office, there seems to be a real serious issue.
Peter Warner. Did he, go home sick or something?
I'm sorry, but there's no Peter Warner registered at this school.
What? That's not possible.
Warner?
Peter Warner. He comes here every morning.
I don't see a record of a Peter Warner ever attending school here.
Danielle runs home to find the basement door open ajar. Wandering inside, she finds no sign of Peter, and only the dark whispers of whatever lies in the basement await her.
Who is that?
God, I hate her acting in this episode too. This is where we see what's been going on, how the house seems to have taken Danielle's brother into the deep cranks of the basement, and tries to take Danielle as well. She finds Chris for help, but when she tells him about Peter, he has no idea what she's talking about. After she runs around pointlessly for a few minutes, she's jumped by the homeless man from earlier who lays on some heavy exposition.
I know about your brother. Your house where you're living. It's the Forget-Me house.
You're nuts. Let me go!
There is something about it. It makes the children living there forget everything, even who they are.
No!
It's happening to you, isn't it? I can see it in your eyes.
You're lying.
It's true. The children themselves are forgotten even by their parents, and then they slip into the cracks of the basement floor.
How do you know?
Because I'm one of them. They have your brother! And they want you!
She runs back home and sees that her mom and dad have finally made it back from their trip. But when she talks to them, they don't seem to remember her. She pushes past her mother to find that all the pictures in the house have changed, and no semblance of Danielle or Peter exist within these walls. Her parents try to force her to leave as they have no idea who she is, but Danielle runs to the garbage in one last effort to try and get her parents to remember. She pulls up the picture she had thrown out earlier in the episode to find out that it had been unchanged for some reason.
Fly safe. Call me with your room number. And come home soon.
Lock the doors. No boys after dark. And we'll miss you.
You know, there could be a reason to this. Could be.
The house seems to alter reality and memory to the point where people get deleted from school records, pictures, but somehow it missed this one. Maybe it only deletes things that are fresh in people's minds. Maybe it doesn't count discounted memories that are thrown away. Or maybe this just doesn't make any sense at all. With her parents' memories refreshed, she takes them down to the basement to save Peter. But it's too late. The house has the poor brat under lockdown.
Wait. They come when they're wanted.
In a last-ditch effort, Danielle holds up the picture to show the house that they remember.
Look! They remember! They remember!
Peter is saved as the house lets him go, and the homeless man slips back into the cracks like all the other homeless people in America. He had explained earlier that the world had changed so much since his time in the basement that everyone he had known was gone, so slipping back into the cracks was the only salvation for him. Anyway, besides the loss of the unnamed homeless man, everyone gets a happy ending and the Warner family moves away, leaving the house to become occupied by another family. And as this family tours this house, we see that the horrors from the basement are not over and done with. Not by a long shot.
A house, much like any other. Bedrooms, a kitchen, a basement with cracks in the floor. But the cracks in this floor go deeper than most, filled with lost souls, doomed to live forever in the Nightmare Room.
And that was Don't Forget Me. And fuck, this was terrible. My God, this is probably the worst episode in this series I've covered so far. What a bad episode to go to after a really good one. Oh, God, where do I start? The acting is bad. The writing is kind of in between bad and meh. The only thing that I like about this is just like 2 scenes. The rest of it's just kind of bad. My first complaint is, how the fuck does this house even work? Okay, I get it. It makes people forget, and then it sucks them into the basement to consume them or whatever. That's my assumption anyway. But what are the scopes of its powers exactly? It can affect other things out of the house. What was the deal with the whole? What? I'm confused. Okay, so the whole thing where it doesn't wipe away that one picture that was thrown away, that's a huge plot hole that makes me question how exactly this house functions. How did it miss that? It got the school documents, it got the school records, but it missed the fucking picture and the trash can. How does that work? It's literally the stupidest solution. It just happens because the plot demands it, and that's not really great writing. And you know what ruins this even more is that the acting in this episode is not that great either. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that Amanda Bynes in this episode is probably the worst actor in it. And I know she was really popular at the time. A lot of people like her as an actor, and she seems like a fine actor, but not in this episode. My God, she was terrible. She made me cringe. I don't even know why I cringed so hard, but Jesus Christ, I was cringing every few seconds she had lines. And Peter was pretty shit too. And everyone else was, they were okay. The homeless guy was okay. Barely. And the parents were okay. The mother kind of had some weird lines there. I only like 2 scenes in this. There's the scene where Danielle's escaping the basement. That is a good tense scene. And then there's the bedroom scene, which is, other than that, that's kind of it. The episode doesn't really offer much. The plot's kind of stupid. And the premise is okay, but it just isn't really worked out that well. This episode's a bit of a mess to me. And because of that, I'm going to have to give this episode a 4 out of 10. Like I said, I like some scenes, and that's what raises this episode up. But it's closer to a 3 than a 4. It's just not that great. This is probably the episode that I've covered this year, like Goosebumps and Nightmare Room included. This one has made me cringe the most, so not a recommendation for me. But you know what? It was the first episode of the series, so, they were just getting into the groove of things, so I can kind of excuse that. But still, it's not great. Anyway, guys, that was my half-ass review of this episode. Hope you enjoyed, and make sure you stick around for when I cover more Nightmare Room goodness. Make sure you guys have a scary day.